Welcome to Fandom Family Chats. I'm your host, Maureen, and today we're joined with Jeanette.
Hey, guys.
And Amanda.
Hello.
And our very special guest is from Cruel Summer. She plays Denise Harper. It is Nicole Bilderback.
Hi.
Hello.
We are so excited. We are 90s kids through and through, so we are more excited about you than you realize.
Oh, yay. I love that.
I have to tell you, when we first started watching the show, we have a group chat because we run a group on Cruel Summer. It's Cruel Summer, the Turner Family Fan Club. And so we have a group chat for all of us admins and mods. And probably around the second episode or so, we got a message from Amanda in the chat going, "Do you realize who that is? She's from Bring It On."
Oh,
yeah. Excited. She was very excited.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yay. Yay.
I recognized you.
Yeah, you're like, I got you. I see you.
I knew exactly who you were.
Yeah, it all clicked because I had been watching and I was like, why do I know her? Why do I know her face? And then Amanda said it and I was like, that's it. That's it. One of my favorite movies. How do I not know this?
And that's so funny you had mentioned Bring It On and Clueless, because I think those two movies really have ended up being timeless. They've been sort of iconic in that way, to where, I mean, I get, whenever I'm stopped on the street or in public, it's literally people of all ages. It's kids, teenagers, 20s, parents who are in their 40s, 50s. Like it really has, turned into these like timeless, last forever nostalgic movies that have just really stood the what is it called? Oh my God, stood the test of time. Test of time. Thank you. Still pandemic brain, haven't quite fully recovered yet.
We're with you on that one for sure. We have some younger ladies in our group and we're trying to get one of them to watch. She's never seen Clueless. So we're like, okay, we're going to do a watch party and we're going to introduce you to this amazing show. So
you're like, introduce you, like, no, actually we're going to manipulate and force you to watch
100%. 100%.
Yeah. I think I got her to watch Bring It On the other night because I found it on Peacock and I was like, Shelby, you have to get on here and watch this. It's on there. It's free. Just go. It's amazing.
Yeah, people of all ages really do enjoy it. I mean, I get dads, like literally fathers, grown
My
men.
husband loves it.
Yeah. And I'm like, oh, they're like, you've seen Bring It? They're like, and then I thought about it, I'm like, oh, well, what guy doesn't like a girl and cheerleaders?
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, duh, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's got a fun storyline.
I'll watch it with you.
Right.
All right. So you played Denise Harper on Cruel Summer.
Yes.
And you had a shining episode on Tuesday night.
Yeah. It's funny because starting off in the beginning, actually when we were shooting the pilot, which was back in November of 2019, and the show creator, Bert B. Royal, who's our original creator, I had told him, I was like, look, I don't want to know what the, if I win the case or not. I was like, I don't want to know. And the reason why I didn't want to know is because, I wanted to, as Nikki, as an actress, I wanted to really believe in what I was fighting for. And I didn't, it's more like I wanted to sort of align with Denise, as Denise is, unraveling and putting the pieces together. And as she's fighting for the cause, I wanted, myself to sort of align with Denise, me discover Denise as Denise is discovering the whole bigger picture of her case, and as she's getting to know Jeanette. So so that was really interesting because usually I always know ahead of time, and this was the first time I think where I'm like, I don't want to know the outcome. So as we're shooting the series, I made sure to reiterate that to our producers and to our showrunner, Tia Napolitano. I can never say that the first time.
I can't say Tanya very well either.
Right. And I reiterate that to the cast, and they, they're like, okay. So I didn't find out what was going to happen until we got the script for episode 10, right before we started shooting it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So now when you film it, you don't film it like we see it, right? You film different areas.
No, yeah.
So
yeah, well, first, okay, that's tricky too, because you guys, as the audience, the show isn't shot, it's not seen in any, chronological order. It's not, and we don't shoot it linear or anything. So it's, as you know, we time jump. There's a lot of time jumping. And the scripts are written in the same way that the audience sees it, except for we shoot it, all messed up and out of order. So like, if we don't shoot the first scene, the opening scene of an episode on day 1, that could be on the last day. That could be on day 8. So, that's, kind of tricky, but we're also used to it. It's like when we're shooting it, we know, because we've already had usually like a virtual table read. And so, we know the script.
Oh, that's right. Yep.
So we know the script, but, the shoot schedule is a shoot schedule. It's, whenever a location is available, and that can happen at day 1 or it can happen day 5, so we shoot it very just whatever it's scheduled for the day.
Yeah. And, I feel like our listeners are going to get annoyed with me because I see this on every single podcast, but I love shows that have communication that is nonverbal. And there's a scene in the last episode where you are handing Kate Wallace the chat log, the paper of the chat log, and the look on your face. We talked about it last night because I put it in my notes. You had this smirk on your face, and all the nonverbal stuff that happens, that's the actor or actress's input. That's not, you can't script a facial expression or script emotion, but that's all you. And you just had that smirk on your face, and you just look so smug, and you look so victorious. And I was so excited from that moment on. And then you just turned around and like, well, okay. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. And it is, you're right. It's very in the moment for us actors. And so when little moments like that, happen and occur, it's because, well, I'm also going off of what I'm receiving from Kate, and just to see that, just to see her, she was so vulnerable and shocked, and she wasn't expecting this. And, as I'm delivering, it's like I had that moment. She was like, I think I'd asked her a question, and she took a while to delay to answer. And I'm just like, Miss Wallace, like, it's just very, it's like, what's wrong? Like, of course I know what's wrong. But it's super fun. Those are the moments for us actors that are raw. Yeah. That are authentically raw. Yeah.
And I have to tell you, this cast was, all of you were amazing. That scream that Blake let out in the last episode was, I think we were watching it live, and Amanda she and I were listening it together live, and both of us were crying. He's a predator, but when he let out that scream, it was like, I've never felt more horrible for a person in my entire life.
Blake Lee, who plays Martin Harris, he and I have actually been friends in real life for like 15 years. And it's so funny because I loved how they handled that storyline with Martin and Kate, and him, in allowing the audience to actually see his past to be revealed. And now we understand why he is the way he is, rather than solely looking at him as just a predator and like a creeper, and like, who does this? Like, who, what he did, his actions were definitely very wrong. There's no question about that. But now we get to understand how people, evolve into where they end up locking an underage teenage girl in their basement, Right. So it's like there's always a psychology behind it. And he, he's had some massive trauma in his life when he was younger, and that never got sorted out or healed. And so, as his own psychological, evolution, he didn't want to hurt her. I don't even think he necessarily wanted to lock her in his basement, So it's interesting. It helps us almost have compassion for him in many ways. It's similar to like Dexter. Dexter was a good bad guy. He murdered people. He chopped them up. He was crazy, but we also rooted for him. We loved because he was killing bad people. Like, they were horrible human beings.
Right.
It's so messed up saying that out loud, but
it's true.
Yeah.
I judge myself when I'm watching Dexter, because I'm like, I love him so much. And I'm like, why?
I know. It's literally, it boils down to ethics, morals and ethics. It's like, we were forced to face that challenge of, good versus evil, but yet at the same time, when you think somebody is doing something justifiable, it might be an evil act, but it's justifiable in our minds because they're hurting people that have literally destroyed other people's lives. So you're just like, well, that justifies it. That's what we like. That person asked for it. They deserve it.
It's okay.
And I think that all of you, it's Blakely especially was very good at, but
so
all
good.
of you, or every one of the cast members was really good at showing those layers. There's a scene with him where it's Christmas Day when they're having their dinner, and he knows that she left the house. And have you watched the series outside of?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And where he starts off first with I'll be mad I'll decide if I'm going to be mad. And so he's angry, and then he goes right into guilt and then shame. And so he's throwing out all these different things to try to get her. But again, it's a nonverbal thing. The way he alters his face to depict those emotions, and the way that you as a lawyer alter your face as you're talking, even when you're talking to Jeanette. There's one scene with you where you're sitting at the Turner's table, and you're talking to Jeanette about how you're the gun, you need the bullets. And Greg comes out and he's mad. You drank all the coffee, Jeanette? And then when you're talking to Jeanette, you're very serious and you have a very stone face. And then Greg leaves and you just cock your head back. You say, always a pleasure, Greg. So even how you guys alter between the emotions so quickly, but so completely that's a really skillful thing to do.
Well, and I think too, we have to remember, like these they may be characters that are written, but they're human. A character in a show is still a human, and we all have those human moments. Like, Denise is very business, very straightforward, but we'd like to think she also has a personality and some sense of humor. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So here we are, the serious moment, but it's like, and at that point too, I think, because she's always over at the Turner house. And so she's gotten to know them a little more. It's a slow, it's ever evolving and a slow progression of the relationship being built between not just Denise and Jeanette, but Denise and the family, the father. The father is the one that was a huge part in it. So he's the one who hired me. And so, it's like, oh, good to see you too. Good to see you too, Greg. Right here. Hello. Can I have some coffee? That'd be great if I had some coffee, Speaking of coffee.
I don't ever do a podcast unless we do it at night without coffee. Not ever. I have a problem. But it's a good one. It's a healthy one to have.
I call this my medication.
See, there you go. Yes.
I'm literally the jerk that in spin class, during spin class, literally in the middle of it, right before we climb and spin, when you have like a heavy resistance, I stop my bike, I lean down, I grab my coffee, put it down, and then I continue. It's like this ongoing joke with my spin instructors and me. But it's one that I'm proud of.
Now, if you don't do it, people are going to be really concerned.
Right?
You should just test it out one day. Just not drink it, and then the whole class will just stop.
No, they'll stop and be concerned. They think, is she going to make it? Do we need to call an ambulance? I literally call this my medication. And anyone who tries to make a comment about it, I'm like, I have a prescription from my doctor. And I'm kind of dead serious about it. Yeah, I should probably take a look at that, huh? Yeah.
Don't ever stop doing that.
No. I'm glad I have your support. Thank you.
I'm one of the youth leaders at our church, and there's kids who come in new all the time, and they'll ask me questions, and I'll just look at them and say no. And then they get really sad and walk away. I was kidding. How do you not know I was kidding? Nobody gets it.
I love that. I'm totally the same way. We probably would have been like besties had we gone to high school together.
we should work on that. Just saying.
It's just so fun to mess with people.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Speaking of that, did you have as Denise Harper, did you have a favorite scene that you played? Because most of your scenes are with Jeanette or with Kiara.
Oh yeah.
So did you have a favorite scene that you two worked on together, or anyone else, I suppose? But
I'll say this: in the pilot, when we are, I'm pretty sure it's either episode 1 or episode 2, where we're actually in my office, and she gives me the whole monologue of, when I tell her, we need you to be likable, we need the jury to root for you, and and then her reaction. I remember shooting that scene, and when the coverage, when it was my coverage, meaning the cameras are on me, I have to hold, because I'm just getting to know this girl. I've just recently met her. So I can't get too emotionally involved. However, when the cameras would turn onto her, I'm crying, I'm, wiping my eye. I'm like, it's so hard to tear up, because you can't, this girl's life has been ruined. I mean, literally, and being that young, like we're grown adults, we can handle it. We can process things in different ways. We have the life tools to know how to, analyze it and and go through that human adult life process, and we can heal it and start healing it in different ways. When you're that young, you don't have that under your belt yet. You don't have that, those skills yet. And it's so traumatizing, and it's, and like, I mean, she's literally been traumatized, and regardless of what she may or may not have done that we don't know yet, it's still her life is being ruined. Like you really have to think about it. The reason why I'm suing for 11 million.
Which is, that was my expression too.
I really wanted that 11 million. But the reason why I'm suing for 11 million is because you have to think about it from a whole future perspective of, will this girl ever be able to get a job? I mean, her character's totally been defamed. Like she's been ruined.
And the governor publicly.
The governor publicly insulted her, and and she was the most hated girl in America. Like you have to really let that sink in. But that was a pivotal scene when, in the beginning, and then that led me sort of, it was always there with me throughout the rest of the season as we were shooting. But that was definitely such an intense scene. And Kiara, oh my God, nailed it every time. Every time.
How many times did you run through that scene?
Oh God, a lot, like a lot. There was a lot of takes, because a lot of it's technicalities, right? So it's like, sometimes you start off with like, a coverage shot, overhead, whether it's overhead or whether it's of all of us people in the room, and then they move in and then they get, coverage of just the single actors. And then they, sometimes we'll do 2 shots or whatever, all the different angles that the cinematographer and the director have collaborated with, in how they want to show the audience, how they want it to be seen with the audience. And so, there's so many takes, and to be that emotionally invested and that authentic every time is not always easy.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Keep reliving such hard moments like that. It can really be tough.
Especially if you have to keep reliving it, that means that you have to stay in that mental space for quite a while.
Yeah. Which is, as we know, like none of us want to stay, even, in real life, whenever we're feeling really crappy or low or sad or depressed, nobody wants to stay in that.
No.
That you always want to, feel through it and, hopefully heal and release it. But when you're shooting, you can't do that. That's really up to how many takes we got to do.
Exactly. I have to tell you, when I asked you that question, that was the exact scene in my mind, because that's my favorite scene that you have with her.
Oh, yay. Oh, good. Yeah. Yeah. I can't, that never escapes me. One of my other, and this is actually just a funny side story, that between Jeanette and I,
we like those.
It's such a,
we like those.
Okay, good. It's such a short little minuscule scene, but I think it was in episode maybe 5, I think, where I show up at the Turner house. I ring the doorbell. Jeanette comes and answers it, and I say one line. I just say, "We have a problem." So that's when we were shooting that was the last shot of the day. And, at that point, everybody's tired. The crew is tired. They want to go home. And for some reason, Kiara ended up getting the giggles, and which is contagious. So then I start laughing, and I don't even know how many takes we had to do of me just trying to get out, "We have a problem." Like, it's a serious scene, and I'm sitting there going, "We have a problem." Like, I couldn't even look at her. But I mean, and of course part of me is like, but Kiara started it, no, I didn't have to allow for it. But her and I just kept laughing and laughing. And so that was a super fun scene. And we finally got it, thank God. And we apologized to the crew because we probably held them up a little longer. Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you're in those scenes, like you were in your office for that one with you and Kiara, is there, now the camera angles are really, the cinematography is, first of all, phenomenal in this. How they go from the 93 to 95 is amazing. I haven't seen something like that before. But when they're getting the shots of your faces, is there just, I've talked to a director before who used like a camera that came down from the top and kind of rotated, or are there multiple cameras in the room? What was the filming way?
Yeah, we had, for the most part, we had 2 cameras. We have A camera and B camera. And then for some episodes, we would have 3. Okay. Depending on the setup. Like in the courtroom stuff, there's 3 going on. at once.
That makes sense. There's a lot there.
Yeah, it's, you know, because there's a lot there. There's a lot of coverage. There's just a lot going on there. But it's, you know, it's, speaking of the cinematography, like, talk about, I mean, I think this is some of the best cinematography on TV right now. And
Absolutely.
it's so complex, because we have to, you know, what the audience doesn't know is all the technicalities within it. You know, here you have a director of photography, and they do just that. They direct the photography. So every scene is really a photograph, and then it's all put together. And so, you know, and it's such a big collaboration with the director, and, you know, the camera operators who are also cinematographers, and then you've got, you know, the grips and the lighting. So you have, you know, it's setting the lighting, it's setting the tones. And I remember when, in the beginning, when we first premiered, a lot of people were saying, oh, you know, it took me kind of a while to, you know, really know which year we were in. And they said, you know, because you kind of go off the actors. I said, well, okay, the actors' appearances make it very obvious. However, I go, let that go for a second. Look at the cinematography. Look at the colors and the tones. You will know exactly what year you're in, no matter, you can go from 93 to 95 and know instantaneously. And when I said that, they were like, oh my God, it was like a light bulb. They're like, you're so right. You're so right. You know, because there's so much. And then sometimes even the scene transitions when you have the same scene, but totally different years of how it would just move. And you could actually see the colors and the tones shift and change. This is same actor, same scene, probably in, you know, like specifically in Martin Harris's house with, you know, Jeanette walking in, and then you see this transition. She's walking in as, you know, in 93 or 94, and then all of a sudden you see her in 95, and it goes from bright, vibrant colors, and you can see it shift, and then it's all of a sudden it's grays and blues and dark and dreary, like just insane. Like that's, you know, that's really not an easy thing to do. But that's what I think. And I think our show really deserves that acknowledgement. I think our DP and the cinematography, you know, my hat off to them. They're truly brilliant.
Yeah. Because there's one scene that stands out to me, and it's where Jeanette is putting her necklace back in her jewelry box. And it's like, as it pans up through the mirror, it switches to 94, and just watching the way it switches is just really cool. I mean, definitely never seen anything like that.
Those scenes probably, you know, for all you know, they could have been shot totally like weeks later. And so having to match the continuity, you know, and then putting that together and make it sort of blend, and, you know, so it's, so I mean, so it's crazy, because even if they are shooting it back to back, the same scene, but then have to make those transitions, it still has to be done with different lighting, with different, you know, it's, you know, it's all the technicalities of it. It's, you know, it's very technical, and, you know, the actor just has to bear in mind, okay, I'm going from, this is 93. Okay, but they first will shoot it like as it's 93, and then they'll shoot it as it's 95. And when you're on set, you know, you don't see, you know, the interchanging of the tones and the colors, but like, think about it, like the cameras, even just, they have to get the lighting set up and change it. Like, it's a whole ordeal.
It's amazing.
It was shocking when I would find, because we try to put like little videos and things on our page, and we try to like put all the promos. It was always shocking to me when I would find a promo that it was 95, but the color was normal. Like, no, it's not supposed to be so bright. It should be darker. This is not right. And it actually felt wrong, because I had been so trained by this show that this is how a person looks in this year, in this decade, or when they're dressed like this is the coloring behind it. And what a brilliant way to set the tone for each year. I mean, they weren't just differentiating between the years. They were setting the tone, the emotional tone that you were going to feel for every year.
Exactly it.
And I just, what a brilliant, subtle way to do it.
And, you know, and that's what I mean by tone, not just color tones, but emotional tones. Because anytime there would be that kind of transition in one scene, you would find your energy shifting with it. And your emotions shifting with it, you know? I will say, watching it, whenever I'd see the color go to blues and grays, I would kind of tense up a little bit. Like, okay, what's happening now? You're like, oh crap. You know what I mean? Like, it's true. Yeah.
The other
poor Denise, every time because Denise is only in 95. So it's like every time we see Denise, like, oh crap, there's Denise. This isn't going to be good. This is not going to be good because it's 95.
It's
yeah.
true.
That was a tough year.
We've also been
It was a tough year for everyone.
we've also been trained that every single thing in the show has meaning.
Yeah.
And so that tripped me out with the cinematography a little bit. There's a scene in the finale where they zoom in on, it's on the Marsha Bailey show when Jeanette's on there. And they zoom in on the side of Marsha Bailey's face. I'm like, what does that mean? What is she going to do? What is it? Why are they zooming in on her face? What does that mean? And
Yeah.
nothing. She was just interviewing Jeanette.
Right. Well, no, you actually do make a point though. Even though that's probably the one exception where yes, we're in 95, but obviously the colors were more, because things have changed. Like we already know the outcome. So of course the colors, were more bright. But that's actually an excellent point, because in 95, I don't know if you guys noticed this, but in 95, the shots, the frames were also more close up of the actors and of everything. It was very close up versus in 93, it's, the colors are more bright and vibrant, and, you're seeing kind of everything, it's innocence, purity, it's happiness, joy, and then in 95, a lot of it's like, doom and gloom. It's like, zoom, and it's like, but that's all very intentional.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And just a really well done show.
Yeah.
And I can't think of another show that I've seen like this.
It really is innovative if you really think about it on so many levels. Not even, yes, of course, obviously creatively, and how writers can write this. Like our writers' room, let's give it up to our writers' room, because my God, like, yes, they all have sort of what's called a Bible, which is the season, right? It's the whole season and what's going to happen. But with the show that time jumps so frequently between 3 years, I almost have an anxiety attack thinking about if I was a writer in that writer's room, like, you have to get everything straight. Like, you're writing it sort of, you've got your grid or your guide or whatever, your guideline, and you're sitting there and to me, it would be so hard and confusing, because you have to cover certain things. You got to make sure you've got scenes, and the writing's got to be in there, the story's got to be in there, so that it all comes together and matches up. You're not just, as a writer, you're not just writing for one episode. You're actually writing, multiple pieces of a full big puzzle.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And you have those extra challenges of, again, the time jumps.
Absolutely. And I think that is something that I write, and so that was something that I really connected with, was how brilliantly they went from the beginning to the end. And they didn't, and we did an interview with Shelby Surdom, and she had said that she had asked the writers, or she had asked Tia, can I ad lib? And Tia's like, no, absolutely not. You cannot ad lib. We wrote everything with purpose and intention. You cannot alter what we've written. And so it's the intentionality that it takes to write the show like this. I have to imagine it's time consuming and grueling to do that.
Oh,
but
yes.
It's so well connected, and it's so well done.
Yes, absolutely. And again, that's where you got to give it up to the writer's room, and, of writing with intention, but it also not only has to make sense, it has to literally come together, the pieces of every puzzle. And remember, there's also too, in some ways, there's multiple puzzles too, even depending on how you look at it. Because we have one A plot, one big major, storyline, but then we also have multiple other subplots that are connected and incorporate somehow to the bigger A plot, right?
Yeah.
So it's a whole structure, it's a whole, and my God, like, and especially, when you're dealing with such complexities of making sure you're covering every character, what they did in 1 year, where that's going to go in what episode, and what this character does in that year, and how are we going to make that come together in episode 10? Well, okay, we're shooting in episode 5. You know what I mean? It's very strategic.
Even the guest stars.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I mean, Tanya Peterson was in one episode, which because they had timed up so much, I swore she was in more than one episode.
Totally, right? Yeah.
But she was like, no, we were just in one. I was just in one. Like, oh, okay. But even
it felt like she was in, and
they gave her meat, and you wanted to dig into it.
You say Tanya. So I actually am from Dallas, Texas. That's where I grew up. And it's so funny because when we first got that script, and everybody was saying Tanya, and and we're they probably changed it to Tanya because it's Texas, and you think, and I'm like, no, I'm actually from Texas. I don't think we had any Tanyas. Like, I really don't recall a Tanya, but regardless, it's irrelevant because it was so perfect. It suited the character and the story so beautifully and perfectly. So I'm glad they kept it as Tanya.
Yeah.
I'm glad it was written as Tanya and not as Tanya. It worked. It totally worked.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's just really hard.
And she was so good in it. Oh my God. She was so good.
Mhm.
Amazing.
And you guys know, I don't know if she told you, because I know you guys have done one with her. But
she
her
bragged
and
about you.
Oh, I love her. So her and I, we actually know each other out in LA, out here in LA. And because we had a mutual friend, one of my best friends growing up, Michelle Parma, her and Kim were roommates out here in LA when they moved out here. And so Kim and I literally spent almost every single day together because they moved in across the street from me.
Mm-hmm.
And this is back when we were in our early 20s, like we were babies, right? We were like late teens, early 20s. So she was one of my best friends for the longest time, for the duration of when she lived out in LA. And we hadn't seen each other in over 20 something years. And so, so on set, when we were scheduled to work together, and the whole scene where she's being deposed by myself and Kate's lawyer, it was that first moment of when we saw each other. I mean, it was like everything just came back, because I had seen her name on the call sheet, and I was like, no, like, is that her? And I was like, it's got to be her. Like, so when I saw her, we both just lost it. It was 20 something years of a reunion all wrapped into this one day. And it was so beautiful, and it was so lovely. And it was so great to work with her, but just to see her again. I mean, her and I literally still revel on it to this day. We text each other all the time and message each other going, I love you. I still can't get over that we got to work together. Like, it was really special. It was very special.
That's awesome.
I love that.
Yeah.
So did you have, now she was on the set for 3 days, I know, but did you have a favorite person to work with that was just from a strictly work standpoint? Like someone who you really were able to pull out of for your character?
Well, I mean, pretty much almost all my stuff is literally just with Kiara.
Mhm.
But I say that, and I mean, my God, it's so deep though, because there's so much going on with Jeanette. And so, I mean, my God, like, of course I have to say her, only because she has so many different levels of, of emotions. And, we see her, angry and, a smart aleck and crack, and then we see the softness in her, and then we see every level of vulnerability and rawness. And so it was almost equivalent to, like, I'm working with 5 different actors in this one young, beautiful, talented actress. I will say this, my buddy was probably Brooklyn Sedano, who plays Angela. Her and I really connected and have remained really good friends. But I'll say the most fun is Michael Landis, who plays Greg Turner, Jeanette's dad. He's hysterical. He is the most inappropriately hysterical person that makes you laugh. And I mean that in a good way, as inappropriate.
Yeah.
The things that come out of his mouth the second the camera stopped rolling, he just makes the set fun and funny, and it's just nonstop laughter around him.
I need that. It'd be great if you guys could release like a almost like a B-roll of just when you're not filming, all the stuff that happened right then.
I would love to see outtakes.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
I really want to see outtakes. That to me, because there's a lot of actors that I'd never really got to work with or shoot with, one being my very good friend Blake Lee, like we talked about. He and I had no scenes together. Here we are, we've known each other for 15 years, and I think there was one day out of the entire season that we were actually on set at the same time, even though we had no scenes together. But it just happens we were scheduled on the same day, and we walk up to, and that wasn't even until like episode 8, or it was like episode 8, I think, and we were just like, oh, like, finally we get to see each other on set. I think they should bring Martin back as a ghost in season 2. and find some way.
Mhm.
Maybe he haunts the lawyers, Denise. Like, I don't know, like something that we need to. I don't know.
See, no, we're
I
not
think-
we're not done with Blakely either.
Yeah,
No.
we
I don't think
said
anyone is. Yeah.
I think season 2, whatever you do, we just have to find a way for Blake to be back because it just won't be the same. I think if he's not there.
We need
I know.
flashbacks.
Mhm.
I had
Oh,
this
there's always,
theory.
there's always a possibility. That's the beauty of this show is literally there's unlimited possibilities. It's been set up to where, first of all, we don't actually know. I know the network knows, and our showrunner and the writers' room know the actual chosen storyline for season 2. I don't know yet. I don't know what they've chosen. I knew what the options were. I knew what the possibilities were. But I actually don't know what exactly yet. But that's the beauty of it, is that it could really go anywhere, whether they do an anthology or whether they do a continuation or whether they, now focus a totally different storyline. Like it can go anywhere.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It is beautiful that way.
Yeah,
I think
totally.
that's how they wrote and that goes back to how they wrote even the guest stars. Every single character that appeared on the show has meat to them, and they have something, that there's another backstory. They're like, oh wait, go back. I want to know what happened with her. And so there's all these other options that they've created within this one storyline. And I have this theory that Tanya, man, that's hard. Tanya and Cindy and Joy, that they had some relationship before in high school, similar, and that's why so I would like to see going back into the current adults, going back into them as kids, time jumping a little bit further and going to from like high school to, okay, I'm having kids and getting married, to how they were in this season. Because
that actually is very, very interesting you say that, because I think that would actually be a brilliant idea, and one that would be really smart, because here we had, even though like we had the main storyline involve teenagers, we also had, like I said, adult subplots, and which were so smart of them to do, and that was also too very intentional to expand, of course, our demographic and our audience, which ironically enough ended up really working, because everyone, our show is we're not a teen show, we're not a teen drama. We are literally
I'm certainly not a teen, so
I don't even know if I remember my teens. But we're just a pure, it's just a pure psychological thriller / mystery. And yes, our demographic from the 18 to 29-year-olds, the teenagers, of course, huge, it's big. But when we premiered, our biggest main demographic was the 30 to 49-year-olds. So we're actually more adults, and and so there's literally, it's really a show for all ages. I mean, I have my aunts and uncles and my parents, they're all seniors. And they're so into it. My aunt will email me going, so I need to know something. I need some clarity, like and it's so cute because they're so into it. They're like, no, this is really appealing. They're not distracted or lose interest just because there's teenagers on it. Like they very much are into the adult storyline. So I think it's really interesting and very smart to the idea of the possibility of going back to exploring the adults when they were younger, and see how that can maybe align up with how the kids turned out the way they did, or how, you know what I mean? Like it's all so interesting.
Yeah, I love it because I love it, and my niece loves it. She's 19. She loves it, and then also my mom's getting into it. So it's for all ages.
It's almost like it's multi-generational in a way, it really is for all ages, like whether you're a teenager, whether you're in your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, and of course now we've got 60, 70-year-olds, that are watching it, whether it's based from word of mouth or, their daughter or niece is in it. It's, they're actually really into it because it is, it's just written as a psychological thriller and mystery, and not as a teen drama or a teen show.
And I don't think enough appreciation or credence is given to the writers on that, because it is hard to write for that wide of a target audience.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And like we stated before, with the multi-layers and the complexities and the time jumping and making it all come together and making sure that you have every piece written, in whatever episode, like, because it can come, flashing back can come, all that can come, at any point. And I think it's cool because, there was only one episode that was shot in chronological order, and that was episode 9.
Oh yeah, because it was mostly 93.
Uh-huh. And it was only their story. It was only Kate and Martin Harris's story. So that was the only one that was shot where there was an actual order with no time jumping. So, which was also very smart of them to do, not only just to give the backstory of what happened, but also to, to be able to see if the audience could figure out now, could they place anything? Could they figure out anything before seeing episode 10?
Yeah.
Like what can you as an audience member figure out on your own by now seeing, what happened between Martin and Kate in chronological order and how long that lasted, and and then can you think back to other previous episodes where like, oh wait a minute, but that's and like kind of try to put it together.
Yeah, and that's what we did.
Yeah. In fact, there is the director, one of our producers, who's our producing director. He just posted on Instagram yesterday where there's the card that we see that's actually on the bike, on Mallory's bike, or that we discover is Mallory's bike. I think what is it, the 9 of diamonds or 8 of diamonds?
8 of diamonds.
8 of diamonds, and there was a, that's, we discover, okay, that's Mallory's bike, and we specifically see it in, I think, 2 episodes, but we definitely see it in episode 10. And where they establish, oh, that's Mallory's bike. That's not my bike. That's oh no, yes, that's Mallory's bike, right? Like,
yes.
You guys probably know better than I do. And so because of the card, well, in a previous earlier episode in the beginning of the season, you see playing cards, and and he actually takes the frame shots and he puts the two back, side by side, and he's like, the greatest magic tricks or something. I forgot what it was, and I should have looked it up before I even mentioned it. But in other words, you're throughout the whole season from beginning to end, you're actually given little Easter egg hints. Like that you can, and they're very subtle, but that's the beauty in it, is not making it that obvious. But if you're really observant, you can actually go, I wonder if that's got to mean something, you try to figure it out. Like in the pilot episode, when we very, very first see Denise, we're in the kitchen, and like we're just talking or whatever, and it's we're in the kitchen, and I say something along the lines of trying to get her to like, like, hey, you got the support of, I say something along the lines of, we have the support of your father, your dad, your brother, and most people didn't catch, I never said your mother. Even though we already kind of knew, but it wasn't that obvious yet, but we already kind of knew that Jeanette's mom is, okay, not in the picture in 95, but we know that she has a mother because we saw that from previews, building up. And so, but I don't think a lot of people caught that I never mentioned Jeanette's mom.
I didn't.
When saying,
I didn't either.
Yeah, and that's in episode 1, and I think like the first or second scene. I think it, it's pretty early on. So
yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
So you are a 90s icon in our heads, at least, but you're one of our 90s icons. Is there something that when you're on this show, now we usually ask, is there something you would bring back? But for you, I want to know, is there something in the show that they had style-wise, fashion-wise, or even Walkman-wise, something like that, where you're like, oh man, I remember that, I missed that, like something that really just kind of brought you right back to the 90s?
So for the wardrobe fittings, a lot of the jewelry, like when we try on multiple different things, and the stylists always, put different earrings with different outfits, and they have to take Polaroids, and the producers then ultimately choose, right? So, but I remember in my wardrobe fittings, the earrings and the necklaces, I had those exact same earrings and necklaces when I was in high school, literally, because I was actually in high school during this same time frame, right? Oh, I just aged myself. But the point being,
we're all the same age.
Yeah, we're pretty close.
Okay, good. I was actually in high school during the exact same time that the show was taking place. So I literally had these pieces of jewelry, and it brought so many memories back. I'm like, oh my God, I remember I was in love with these earrings. I had these exact, like it was, and it's very nostalgic, you know.
Yeah.
But I'll say one thing, you know, what's funny is everything that I was putting on you, that shoulder pads.
Yeah.
We all
miss those,
remember
don't
shoulder
you?
pads.
Yeah.
That's one thing I probably don't miss shoulder pads, but that was always cool. But yeah, it's, you know, and then of course, you know, the Walkmans, like I loved Walkmans. I used a Walkman.
Yep.
I remember I held onto a Walkman for years and years later after,
Mhm.
you know, and would still, every now and then you want to throw in a good cassette tape or something, you know, or something.
Mhm.
And it's, you know, and then it's, you know, then it hits you when you have an actress, Olivia, who plays Kate, who didn't know what a Walkman was when she first saw it. Literally, she didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
She's like, and she tried to put it up to her ear, like when they gave it to her, like, and she put it up to her ear. And think about it, makes sense because she's so
Yeah.
young.
Yeah.
Walkmans weren't around, you know, when she was
No.
younger. So that kind of gets you to wake up going, oh, wow. And then like, it just makes, it hits you, you know, even seeing the telephones, you know, in the house when you're answering the phone, that, you know, it's all so different, but it's
Yeah.
so nostalgic, and you can't help but to laugh, but to also just remember with, you know, just like, it makes you soft too.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I have to ask, did the casting crew just laugh and wait to see how long it took Olivia to figure out what it was?
I know, right? Right? I know. It's, God bless it. Like we should video this. Like if I was there that day, I would have totally tried to see how long it would take her to figure it out. I think probably our prop master or somebody, or maybe the director, had to actually tell her how to use it, what it was used for.
I personally would have waited to see.
Me too, because you and I are sick and twisted like that.
Yeah,
So we,
exactly.
yeah, we would have gotten, you know, we would have recorded evidence. Yeah.
Yeah. So
That's funny.
you were a fan of the show, right? Did you watch it in real time?
Yes.
Now, you were on almost every episode, weren't you?
I was in 7 out of the 10 episodes. Yeah.
Okay, so was there a theory you had, maybe it was disproven during the script reads, but was there a theory you had that you're like, oh, that's not right? Or even was there one that you thought it was going to go and you're like, oh, hey, I got that right?
You know, I mean, you're always going to have your own like assumptions and your own processing through it all. And it's, you know, and of course, yes, I always had, due to lack of a better phrase, the interference of getting the scripts prior to shooting. And so that would sometimes debunk a lot of it. But I was genuinely curious. Like I knew that I knew some things beforehand. Like I, you know, I knew like, okay, this doesn't make sense. So I had a suspicion early on. I'm like, okay, I think Kate's lying. Like she has to be lying. Like, and it turns out she was. I mean, she was literally, her entire narrative is false.
Yeah.
She was lying about her whole story, not just about, you know, it's horrible that, of course, you know, she was locked in the basement. That part was true, but the entire narrative, she wasn't kidnapped.
Yeah.
She didn't become held hostage until long. She had plenty of opportunities to, you know, to escape. So I did not know. What was unsuspecting of me was the length of time that she was free
Yeah.
to go home and didn't, you know, for multiple reasons, but didn't. So that was kind of a cool twist. And again, it's hard to have theories when you're time jumping so much.
Yeah.
And for us, it's written. So it's, you know, we don't have the visual. So it's, you know, it's hard, but I really didn't know what the ultimate, but I knew there was going to be a big twist. But trying to figure that twist out.
Yeah.
You know, now seeing it, I'm like, how did I not figure that out?
Yeah.
But yeah. And plus, you know, things like doing the pilot, because the season itself, was very, very different than what it then eventually evolved into. Because, you know, you've got network creatives, you've got studio creatives, you have, you know, a new showrunner, you've got writers now. And so things evolve and shift and change. So whatever theories I had from the beginning, from the get-go, obviously drastically shifted and changed as the show itself drastically changed, you know, as we started to move closer up to shooting. So, you know, there wasn't really any specific theory that I had. It was, again, I think for me, I was just trying to put the pieces of the puzzle together just like the audience was.
Yeah.
How far ahead of time did you get the script for the next episode? Did you have enough time to actually try to put things together before you were given the script?
Sure. Yes and no. Generally speaking, because this is what's interesting is before the pandemic, we would have there'd be in-person table reads, and so that would usually happen about a week before. So then during the pandemic, we have virtual table reads, and so that could have happened anywhere, from a week before shooting or a couple of days before shooting. I think we may have had 1 or 2 episodes where we actually had a table read 2 weeks. But we were in a pandemic, and we also had to shut down a couple of times, which then delayed production. So we would have a table read for one episode that we didn't end up shooting because it got pushed due to whether it's a snowstorm in Texas or it's nobody expected that. So so it's generally around a week before, but like I said, there's days where we're a couple days before.
So the last question I have for you, and then we have some from the group, and then we have a question we ask every crew member we have on, but were you thrown by that ending, by the very, very last scene?
Oh my God. Well, first of all, reading the script for episode 10, I had so much anxiety because I built it up because I chose to not know. I know Kiara knew, and I knew Olivia knew, and I think Blake knew too. I didn't know, because I chose not to know. So I had so much anxiety, and I'm like, please let me win, please let me win, please let Denise win, and I didn't know. So then when I actually read it, and then it's so hard to even wrap because you have so much adrenaline and so many different emotions that are just going, that you can't even sort it out yet when you first read it so fresh. But then, yes, when I saw the episode, even though I knew that was coming, that very last scene, I was still authentically shocked.
Yeah.
I was shocked.
Yeah.
I mean, I knew something was, I knew, it doesn't matter. But again, it's so different when you see it visually than when it's written.
Definitely.
I think,
but I thought it was so smart. I thought it was so smart.
Absolutely. And I think the words that I used in the lives were, oh no, oh wow, no, just a lot of that until the very end scene where the credits started rolling. I think I just kept that on repeat.
It's crazy because, we all, here you're led to believe that it's going to end with Kate and Mallory, dancing. Okay, now we've established, okay, they've obviously come to, they obviously now have major secret between them, and, they've come to an agreement. They need to protect each other because if any of them were to speak up and reveal the truths, then, okay, well, Kate would go to jail because A, she's murdered somebody, and B, her entire narrative was false. So legally, the only thing she actually needed to clear up for Jeanette's sake was to clear up Jeanette's name. Obviously that wasn't, but then also too, Mallory, well, she would have invested because she did know. She knew Kate was in that house. After she realized it, she knew Kate was in the house. And she knew she may have known that she was free at some point, but she also knew that she was then held captive. And so, Mallory would have invested as well for not coming forth and revealing the truth. And she also, we have to remember, Mallory betrayed Jeanette in that way as well. Yeah, she could have cleared Jeanette's name a lot sooner, but knowing that if she did that, then that means Kate would be in big trouble.
Yep.
So it's that agreement between them two. And it was so freeing and lighthearted. And the audience is thinking, because I've had so many friends who have called me or texted me going, I was going to be so mad if that was how it was going to end. Oh my God, to end it all hunky-dory and and I was like, I was really mad. And then all of a sudden it shot on Martin Harris's house and then it goes in and you're just like, oh, I thought it was the best twist ever.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I agree.
And how they set it up,
Definitely.
Yeah.
All right, we have one question from the group and then we're going to get to letting you go. So Tiffany asked, have you made any long-lasting friendships with any castmates from any of your films you've done?
From any of my films I've done? Oh, wow. Yeah, Bring It On. Because that was sort of like, the way that I looked at it was that was kind of my college experience because I moved out to Los Angeles from Dallas, Texas, right after high school. And so Bring It On was sort of like my college, because, we were put up in a hotel there, and, we were young, and of course we partied a lot because we're young and we can. Now I can barely have a glass of wine and I am ready for bed at like 8 o'clock, right? It's, oh my God, it sucks. But, so that was kind of but yeah, I became like, God, I was best friends with Claire Kramer, who plays Courtney, and Bianca Kylick, who plays Carver. Like, her and I were like, all three of us were like best friends for many years after that movie, and still keep in touch. And of course other cast members from there as well. But like, I would say that's probably the main one that I remained so close with, that I will always have a lifelong connection and friendship with. There's been a lot, I guess, I'm trying to think in any film that I've done. You guys probably know my resume better than I do. Just because I've been doing this for literally almost 28 years professionally in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Again, I just aged myself. God, I mean, that's the one that really stands out. That was the most, prominent in my mind. But there's a lot of jobs you do that, you're there, you have a great time, you're connecting with your actors. And then it just so happens, after that, you move on. It also depends on how the length of time you're shooting. If it's a film, you're together more. It's, it's consistently for like anywhere from, 4 to 12 weeks of being in close knits, together. But then like if you're doing a guest star on a show, it's a week long, it's 8 days, 8 business days. And so you could be there for 1 day or 3 days or, 7 days or whatever. So obviously you're not going to maintain lifelong friendships depending on the circumstances. But yeah, Bring It On definitely is probably the one.
I love that. All right, Maureen, you want to ask the last question? Or Jeanette, you want to ask the last question?
Either way.
Go ahead, Jeanette.
So we just like to ask, everyone if you have any upcoming projects or anything going on that you want to share with the audience, places that they can follow you and keep in touch with what you're doing.
Yeah. Okay. So in terms of do you have any upcoming projects, that is, hopefully I will have some good news for you shortly.
So hopefully you've got Cruel Summer.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. Yeah, that's definitely one. Like I said, I don't know what cast members are returning, or, we don't know, or even if they are in what capacity. So fingers crossed for that. But yeah, there's other things that are on my plate that, we'll see, fingers crossed. So hopefully there's be some good news very, very soon. You can follow me on Instagram is my main platform, and I'm at Lady Bilderback. So it's literally at Lady and then my last name Bilderback. And then I'm on Facebook too, but I'm not. And Twitter, I never really was good at Twitter. Are you guys good at I'm not good at Twitter.
I'm not.
I'm trying, because I was live tweeting the show every time, but I'm really not good at it either, but I try.
It's because thankfully due to Cruel Summer, I was posting more because because we have to, but also because you want to. And we're given a lot of content prior to each episode to promote them. But so I'm posting on it's for me, Facebook and Twitter were more like I'm just posting career stuff and promoting and whatnot. But Instagram is my main one, where you really get to know me as a whole. So it's career stuff, it's personal stuff, it's inspirational stuff, it's my smart ass self, it's silly, funny stuff, it's everything. Instagram is my main one. So
awesome.
Okay. Yeah. You like the smart ass stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
I had a feeling, especially you, Maureen. I had a feeling.
I was going to say, when you said, I gave you what I thought season 2 should be, and you said, that's a smart idea. I'm the gloater of the group. So I'm going to remind people that you told me how smart that idea was. Just saying, Nicole said I was really smart. So
well, what about you, Amanda and Jeanette? Do you guys have any ideas for season 2? Like in your minds, like what would you like to see? Or what do you think would be a cool idea?
Well, I mean, I do like Maureen's idea too. And I even thought, if we want to I thought we could use the actors that played Kate and Jeanette to play young Joy and young Cindy, because we've seen old pictures of Sarah Drew and Kiara look so much alike. And I was like, that would be a really interesting
photo
idea.
Not creepy? Oh my God.
It's crazy.
Like crazy.
Yeah.
I know them both, and my jaw dropped, and I was just like, what? I'm like, was that altered? I'm like, no, that was not altered.
Yeah.
Crazy.
It's perfect.
What about you, Amanda?
Mine's actually the same. I would actually love to see, Joy and Tanya and all the
Mhm.
girls back in the day when they were in high school. And then I'd like to see, when the kids were younger. And then I'd actually kind of want to see after this happened.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
when they go to college and stuff, kind of see all
Mhm.
those time spans.
Like
That would be cool.
now that everybody knows and we know what happened, how does this affect all of them?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where does this lead them to? Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
I would love to
That
see
would be the continuation. Yeah.
it.
And the flashbacks
Maybe-
have to include Blake Lee and how he became
Well,
who he was, because we have
I
to
was
find a
gonna-
way to keep him in these episodes.
I was gonna say, does Martin maybe
Right.
have a twin brother who's like good and
Oh,
wholesome
I've already
that we
said
can
that to
like
Blake.
that we can root
I'm
for?
so glad. Thank you for that validation. And I'm actually going to text him right after this because I've
Yes.
actually said that to Blake. I was like, Blake, I'm like,
Yes.
I'm like, you could easily have a twin brother and you can come
Yeah.
back. And I think the twin brother and Denise need to have some kind of affair, which would make it really twisted because,
Oh,
Jeanette,
that idea.
here I am representing the Turner family suing Kate, but then what if I fall in love with the twin brother? Because it's not Martin,
it's
Right.
true.
but it's the twin brother.
Yeah, because we've talked about I have a love for toxic men as it is, but I think we talked about on our show last night
Don't
that
we all? Mine is emotionally unavailable. That's what my
Right.
therapist told me how
Right.
I should say it. Yeah.
but I'm like, I definitely draw the line at, kidnapping a child and locking her in the basement. So we need him to be good because I have a huge crush on him. And it's really hard for me to justify that crush currently. So twin brother, that's what we need for sure.
We need a good twin brother who maybe can reveal some more secrets about
Yeah.
Martin and why
Exactly.
Martin is the way he is. And then maybe the twist could be that the twin brother might have a secret or two of his own.
Yeah.
We need to get him
That
on
sounds
here
good.
so we can be like, hey,
Yes.
Nikki and us have built up this plan. So let's work on a script. To
We
send out.
totally have season 2 all figured out, you guys.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's
We got
done.
it.
The season 2 writers room, you have nothing to worry about. We figured it out. Don't
We
worry.
got
it.
We got you.
gotcha. We got them. We got their backs. Yeah.
Well, Nikki, we want to thank you so much for coming on here. And honestly, I feel like I have like a million other things that I just want to talk to you about. So if we don't stop, we're going to keep going and going and going. So we really, really
Well,
appreciate
you know what? Why don't we do another one? We can do another
Yes.
podcast sometime.
Yes.
I'm good with that.
Absolutely.
We
I'd
are,
love that. Yeah.
we are
Bring Blake on
100%
with
down
you.
that.
Totally. Oh my God, that'd be so fun.
Yeah.
Rather than
Yes.
just have him on. I think it'd be fun if we were side by side together
Yes.
and not
Let's do that.
just, him. Yeah. So I think that would be super fun.
Let's
Yeah.
do it.
We've jokingly requested some people come in character. We don't want Blake to come in character because we really want to like him. So no Martin Blake. Just
Yeah, we'd rather have Blake.
stay
Yeah.
Blake.
Well, actually, but you know what? Martin was likable.
He
He
was
was.
until
He
he
was
locked
actually
a
likable.
girl in
And I
a
thought
basement.
I thought they were so smart to do that. Like not buying into the whole, okay, predator,
Yeah.
bad guy, weirdo, creepo. Like he was a likable person. And
Yeah.
obviously he did have a lot of levels of him that was normal and
Mhm.
healthy minded because, he initially did not want Kate to come inside the house.
Yep.
Yeah.
And he didn't want her to stay either. He was mad when she didn't
No.
go to school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. We all tried to spin
So really
it the
it's
best we
Kate's
could.
fault. Come on.
Well,
That's
much
the-
what your character said in the court scene was, we all feel sympathy for Kate Wallace, but she
Mhm.
still broke the law. Same with Martin.
Yeah.
We all feel sympathy for, he didn't want to kidnap her. He didn't want to do these things, but he still
But he did.
did break the law. So, I mean, there's layers.
Well, as a lawyer, I'm just going to say, he actually didn't kidnap her, remember?
It's true.
He ultimately ended up holding her captive.
Yep.
I
That's
just wanted
true.
to point that out as a lawyer.
Yeah.
You can't
know
argue with
best.
that.
You know
Yeah.
best.
Yeah.
You do know I walk around and run errands telling people I'm a lawyer.
You have to stay in character.
I'm a lawyer, yes. Denise Harper. Lawyer at your service. Yeah.
Actors and actresses can be whatever part they play. You're good.
That's what I say.
Next,
that's
you
what
have to
I-
play a doctor.
Doctors are tough. Oh, that dialogue when they run, oh my God, it's so hard because you have no idea. You have no idea what you're saying. You have no. I'm literally Googling. You're Googling, and of course it's one disease is a sentence long, right? Trying to get the whole
Yep.
thing.
Mhm.
But we have to Google it to even learn how to pronounce it correctly. And so
Yeah.
it's so hard. It's so hard.
That reminds me of Joey and Friends when he played a doctor on Days of Our Lives.
Oh my God.
You
Oh
know
my
he
God.
never knew what he was saying.
Never. No, never, never. I don't even think George, I remember seeing an interview about George Clooney with ER.
Yeah, that's right.
Mhm.
Oh, he was even joking. I'm like, half the time, I don't even know what I'm saying. I just kind of hold my breath and pray for the best as it's coming out. And it's so true. Like I hope this comes out. That's all I can do is just hope for the best.
You're good at being a lawyer.
Oh.
Keep with that.
You're right.
Well, I'm going to close this out again, Nikki. It's been so much fun and a really, really,
Mhm.
really joy talking with you. And we are going to get you on the books for a second podcast. We're just going to make it happen.
And you know, if anything, if I need to kidnap Blake, I will.
Yes.
Good.
Hey,
Okay.
he
But I don't-
deserves
We
it.
might need
He
you to
did
do that.
somebody else.
Yeah.
So,
Just hold him captive.
payback.
I'm just gonna hold it. Well, yeah, I'm just gonna hold him. I'm gonna say,
No
hey, Blake,
kidnapping.
you want to have
Yeah.
lunch? Oh, why don't you come back and see I need to show you, and then lock him in. Yeah.
That works.
We're
Give him a
good with
little
that.
dose of his own medicine. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, guys, if you want to find out more about Nikki, she gave you her Instagram. She's got Facebook and Twitter. And keep an eye on her IMDb page to watch for her projects that are coming out so you can watch it, show or film. And Nikki, let us know if you ever have something coming out so we can promote it on our page and
Oh,
get people
absolutely.
watching it and stuff.
Absolutely.
And we also have our email at familyfanclub2021@gmail.com. We have Instagram and Twitter under Family Fan Clubs. Find us there. And our Cruel Summer group is Cruel Summer at Turner Family Fan Clubs. Remember, the Cruel Summer podcasts are not stopping. They are going to continue throughout the summer and lead into season 2 because we're going to keep trucking for that and we're going to keep it going. So thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you in a week. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you. You were
Thank
so
you.
fun. We look forward to talking to you again.